In my humble opinion, there are three things that make a great long exposure light trail image: the tidiness of the trails, the beauty of the scene, and the right light. If you have clarity of vision, the right skills, and a little bit of luck, then you can easily capture each of those three elements. In this video, I'm going to show you precisely that: how to craft super clean, long exposure light trail photographs that stand out, and how to do so properly.
What's up, you guys, and welcome back. If you don't know me already, my name's Cody Mitchell, and in high school I didn't get voted likely to be anything, so that's a fun, sad fact about me. Fun and sad. It's a bit of a contradiction, isn't it? You know what else is a contradiction? The way that I shoot light trails. Standard practice is kind of to just pod out and wait for it to get dark enough so that you can start shooting the light trails, but I find that that's actually pretty limiting, because then you only have this small window after sunset while it's still bright enough to get your photos. This basically places all of the power within the conditions and the scene, and I find that that's a bit too much of a gamble for me, so we're going to do a bit of the opposite. But before I teach you how to take the power back, let me introduce you to my friend, Grimes Canyon. Grimes Canyon, meet my friend. Friend, Grimes Canyon. I do have very good looking friends, don't I? I knew you two were gonna get along.
Grimes Canyon is one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic, long exposure hairpin in the world, and one that I was fortunate enough to have just a few short miles away from my mom's house when I still lived there, before this whole van chapter of my life. Most of the photos you see of this place are fairly similar in composition because there's really only one ridgeline you can capture it from. But just because your composition is limited here doesn't mean your image has to look like everybody else's.
So when you're here, you and Grimy can get up to whatever kind of imagery you want, but since I'm here right now, I'm going for a bit of a vibrant image, one that's still got an abundance of light. So usually when you're shooting light trails, you want to wait for the big fiery ball of gas to do its daily dip behind the big blue yonder, but I want an image that has both the colors of the sky as well as lights from the vehicles. And we can have our cake and eat it too through the magic of blending. So what we're going to need first is our base, the sunset image.
Alright, so that's looking pretty good. We've got some nice highlights popping out from the setting sun on the right side of the frame, and then at the bottom left we've got some more shadow. So got this nice gradation going on here, and now that we've got the sunset shot taken care of, we really just have to wait for the headlights to pop out.
Okay, so now that it's a bit darker, the headlights and the taillights are really starting to stick out. So I'm gonna experiment with a few different shutter speeds and try and get something that I really like. For this image, I'm going for really like thick ropes of light. So I'm likely gonna go with something like a 30-second exposure, but it's always nice to play around because you never know what you're gonna stumble upon. But what I really want to keep in mind while I'm going through these is to make sure that I'm protecting that highlight detail, because we don't want any clipping in our headlights, because that's just going to look out of place and amateurish. So now that we've got our few pieces to the puzzle, really all we got to do is put it together. You might be thinking that that's more difficult than it really is, and once I show you the trick, you're going to see just how easy it is, and you'll be excited to give it a shot for yourself. So of the 4 images that I picked, we got this one, this one, this one, and this one. And I think that this third is probably my favorite. We've got some nice definition between these lights out here. It looks really nice, not too bright. You'll see on this last image, we got a little bit of overexposure here. There's inconsistency in the light. So this is the one that we're gonna work with. I've chosen this image here for our sunset base. We've still got quite a bit of light right here, so it's going to really bring that brightness out. So first thing to do is, well, I mean, I've made a few corrections to the image just to get it kind of looking the way I want. Nothing crazy. So basically all we're gonna do is we're just gonna bring that into Photoshop. All right, and now once we're over here, let's select our light trails. And we're also gonna bring that into Photoshop. All right, now we're gonna hit Command A to select this entire image, Command C to copy it, and we're gonna go over to our base. We're gonna hit Command V and just paste it right on top. If you toggle this on and off, you can see that it's just resting right on top of our base layer. And it's really kind of stupidly simple. So while you've got this top layer, the light trails layer selected, we're just gonna go up here to our blend mode, click on it. We're gonna change it from normal to lighten. And right off the bat, that's pretty good. So pretty much all that is doing is it's taking the lighter parts of the light trails image and it's just putting them on top of our sunset image. And you'll see that, you know, we've got a little bit of weirdness going on over here. That looks a little out of place. And then some of the lighter parts of the sky aren't looking so hot either. And then you'll also notice that if we zoom in that we've put the light trails on top of this truck right here. So we have a few things that we need to tidy up. So to start, I think what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and get rid of that truck. So basically all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with the clone stamp, hit S to bring up the clone stamp. I'm gonna press Option. So Option, we'll select this part, and then we can superimpose that over our truck over here. And we can just kind of Option click here, borrow the texture from that, and remove the truck a little bit more. Borrow some of this yellow line here, make sure it lines up properly, and remove that. And you're seeing we're getting a little bit of weirdness going on right there, but that's okay. Just go ahead and get rid of the truck first, and then we can go ahead and tidy it up afterwards. So now that we've pretty much removed all of the truck, whoops, I'm just gonna tidy up that line right there, make sure that it looks nice and proper all the way through. And we're getting a little bit of weird dark texture there because we're borrowing from a darker part of the road. So I'm just gonna use this part, and then you'll see that that's actually looking pretty good. Tidy up our little yellow line here just a bit. All right. I guess if you look pretty hard, you could probably tell that we did something, but when you're looking at it like that, no one's gonna notice. So let's put the light trails back on top, and you'll see that those other vehicles, like the one that was right here, is basically completely removed by the light trails. And same thing going on down here. Actually, maybe we'll take some of those guys out too. So we'll hit J to bring up the spot healing brush, and we'll see if Photoshop can bring this out by itself. Not bad. Get rid of that one too. We're gonna tidy up those black spots. And those are gonna need a little bit of extra encouragement, so we'll bring in the spot healing brush, tidy up that line, and do the same thing over here. Just tidying up those lines, the little details that you really don't pay too much attention to, but it's nice to make sure that they're looking proper as well. And we will get rid of that little dark spot right there. Boop. All right, let's see if either of these two guys over here are giving us any issues. Nope, basically completely eclipsed by the light trails. So if we zoom out, that's looking pretty good. The only thing I really want to do is tidy up this light here and the sky over here, because the brightness from the blue hour sky, you see that right there, that is shining through into our image and it's looking a bit unnatural. So all we're gonna do is we're going to add a mask. Now that we've got our mask here, on top of our mask, if we just change our brush, select the brush, make sure that our color is set to black, anything that we paint on our mask here will be removed from our image. So if I just go like that, well, that solves that problem then, doesn't it? And if I just do it like that, that's good. It's good. It's good. Now what we don't want to do is accidentally go oops, because then we can paint out the light trails themselves, and those are the things that we want to keep. So, I mean, you could probably go through and completely remove all of that from the sky. And yeah, I think that actually does look a little bit better without it. Now, sometimes when you do the lighten technique, you'll notice that sometimes you get some weird texture going on in other places, and you solve that the same way. You basically just want to paint it out with black. So, for example, let's say that we didn't like this red glow from the taillights, right? All we do is we just go in and we just mask it out. But personally, I think it adds a pretty cool texture around the bend. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it. But yeah, that's the entire technique. You basically just need your base layer, your highlights, bring them together with the light and blend mode, and then you just kind of tidy it up with the mask. And I think that looks pretty good. It's not too complicated. We don't want it to be so cumbersome that we never actually end up using the technique. And you know, this technique I find is actually pretty versatile. You don't have to do it in this kind of scenario where you have a lighter scene that you want to put light trails on. You can do it with darker scenes, and you can do it with other photos. The real point that I want to nail home is that you're taking control of the imagery you want to create and not letting everything be dictated by the scene. Because if we look over here really quickly, so all of the images that we got that have pretty good light trails, right? This one's not quite thick enough because it's not quite dark enough. That one's only a 20-second exposure. But you know, if you wanted to get light trails and you're like, all right, I can only use the images from this little window, to try and get something like that in here is not going to work out so well. I can bring the warmth up and I can pop the exposure, but you know, no matter what you do, it's not gonna look so great. And I think that's probably why in light trail images more so than others, you see these really crazy edits where the dynamic range is just off and everything just looks kind of weird. So even though this is technically not exactly one image, it looks more natural and it feels more natural than trying to really push a single exposure to try and pull off something like this. And if you're like, Cody, that's lying, well, guess what? All art is lying. It's creative expression. It's me trying to tell the story that I want through my image. And if you got a problem with that, then go talk to your mom about it. If you want to make the argument that it's unnatural, well, it's not really natural to look at images that are shot over 30 seconds. What's natural about that? It's an interpretation of the scene, just as all art is an interpretation of the subject. It's conveying the subject honestly by using only pieces organically captured from that scene, from that exact viewpoint. If I was going in here and I was like actually using a white brush and like painting in white light trails, then that would be a different story. But it's just another tool in your tool bag to tell the stories and create the images you want to create. So go forth and do just that. And if you create an image with this technique, I'd love for you to send me a picture and I'd love to see a copy of it, because I don't know, I think it's pretty rad and I want to see what you can come up with. And if you dug the video, please drop me a comment, like, or feedback. I'd love to hear your feedback and suggestions. So thank you for watching, and as always, challenge yourself. And I will see you next time. Peace.